Hey there, all you happy historians. This is Coach Gardner coming at you again and with another installment of our distance learning video series. And today we're going to do a continuation of our list of people that we started last week. We started off with 10 of the people from our U.S. History Notable People document. We're going to go ahead and do the next 10. We're going to start off with our old buddy Ben Franklin up here, and we're going to finish up with Ulysses S. Grant. So let's go ahead and get that started. Ben Franklin, one of the founding fathers of our country, instrumental in our victory over the British during the Revolutionary War. One of the things that Franklin did was to go over to France and negotiate a treaty of alliance with France, which allowed them to send not only troops but ships as well to support the military effort during the Revolutionary War. Now, it was no secret that France and England had no love lost for each other. They'd been at war for hundreds of years with each other and didn't really care very much for each other. So France was, I wouldn't say they were glad to help out, but it didn't hurt their feelings too much either. So the real benefit of the Treaty of Alliance with France was that the French Navy was able to bottle up Cornwallis at the Battle of Yorktown, while Washington had the front escape of Cornwallis and the English military controlled. They tried to escape by the sea, but that was also stopped because of the French army had been able to bottle them up there. So they were sandwiched in between those two groups. Cornwallis eventually had no recourse except to surrender, which ended the Revolutionary War and gave us the American victory. Next person, Eli Whitney. Now, we've all been told Eli Whitney is the inventor of the cotton gin. Not necessarily the inventor. What he did was take an existing idea of the cotton gin that had been around in the South for quite a while, and he improved upon it and made it truly a viable piece of farm machinery that was able to process hundreds of pounds of cotton in a day. Now, up to this point, slavery had almost died out in the South. Slavery was kind of on its way out. But once the cotton gin was improved to the point that it could be beneficial to farmers, and it was, they could even make their own cotton gin. So the cost was low, and everybody could really participate in this. Once more cotton could be processed, more cotton had to be grown, which led to a re-explosion of slavery in the South. Next two guys are going to kill two birds with one stone here. Nat Turner and Gabe Prosser. Both of these people led slave revolts in Virginia, unsuccessful slave revolts. They're going to lead, the revolts are going to lead to harsher fugitive slave acts, which are going to be beneficial for the slave owners in the South. It's going to enrage the North. It's going to be one of those things that's going to be a hot topic issue for quite a while, and a lot of people are going to be very offended by this. And William Lloyd Garrison. Garrison was a Northern abolitionist who was in favor of abolishing slavery, and he ran a newspaper called The Liberator, which is a abolitionist newspaper. So all the articles and information contained in that tried to sway people and encourage them toward the abolitionist way. Elizabeth Cady Stanton, she and Susan B. Anthony are going to be two of the leaders of the women's rights movement. They're going to get voting for the women with the 19th Amendment eventually. They're going to be organizers of the first women's rights convention, the Seneca Falls Convention, and surprisingly, there's a lot of men that are actually involved in this issue. And during that convention, a lot of men come up and spoke on behalf of women for fair treatment and equality. Harriet Beecher Stowe, she's an author. She was married to a minister, a northern minister who had really never been to the South. Miss Stowe had never been to the South. She wrote a very famous book called Uncle Tom's Cabin, in which she portrayed slavery in a worse light than it actually was in real life, if that's possible. The problem was she really had no first-hand knowledge of slavery. Didn't know any slaves, never owned a slave, never been to the South, none of those things that would give her any real knowledge of the situation. Abraham Lincoln jokingly referred to her as the little lady that started the Civil War. Because all these things, like Uncle Tom's Cabin, The Liberator by Garrison, and all that, really fanned the flames of abolitionism that were already starting to take off in the North. Abraham Lincoln. Lincoln's going to be elected president in 1860. Excuse me. When he's elected, South Carolina immediately secedes from the Union. People thought as soon as Lincoln was going to be elected, he would start the abolition of slavery, and which would be the destruction of the way of life in the South. So a lot of people had a lot of misinformation about Lincoln. Lincoln's main objective was not to end slavery, but to preserve the Union as a whole, not let the country fall apart and split into two separate parts. Ulysses S. Grant. Grant is the Union general that eventually is going to take over after the South had amazingly been very successful in some of the initial conflicts during the Civil War. Grant comes in and takes over for some very inefficient generals and leads the North to victory. Even though Grant had some personal issues of his own, he was an extremely effective military leader. All right, that's our next 10 people. Here's what we're going to do. In the assignment section, I'm going to have a small, very, very small assignment for you. It's going to be a small discussion question, and all I want is 1 to 2 paragraphs. All right, that's all we need. 1 to 2 paragraphs explaining the question I'm going to ask. You have the entire week. Next week, it is not due until next Friday. So you have all this weekend and all next week until Friday to turn that assignment in. All right. If you have any questions about the assignment, you can always message me here on Google Classroom. You can email me through our school email, but I'll be glad to help you out in any way. And until that time, until I see you again next week with our next video, everybody stay happy and healthy, and we'll see you in school.